we are going to be talking about everything that has to do with the Florida retirement system. So if you work for the county, if you work for the state, if you're a teacher, firefighter, we're going to be going over how the Florida retirement system works. We're going to be going over the pros and cons of it. We're going to be talking about everything. I know some of you are already in the drop program. I know some of you are still sitting in the pension. Some of you are in the investment plan. So we're going to be going over exactly how each one of those work, and if it actually makes sense to enroll in drop, if it actually makes sense to switch over to the investment plan, because I know that those are very, very big decisions, and a lot of people are going to end up making a lot of mistakes just because simply they don't have enough knowledge. So I think with that said, I think we're going to get started. Let me see. Did everybody share? I see that there's over 40 of you on Facebook, and I still need a few of you to share. No, I think we got to the 10. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for sharing. I really appreciate it. So Miguel, I think we're going to go ahead and get started and talk about this. So for those of you that have just logged in, how Miguel said earlier, please have pen, paper, just have, some information, because we're going to be pretty much going through a lot of this. We're going to be also putting this up on Facebook later. So this will be on Facebook, and you can also share that with friends and family if you want afterwards. If you have questions, please write them on the Facebook feed. And then if you're on Zoom, you can go ahead and write that on the chat. We will be answering all of your questions. We actually have Miguel with us for only 1 hour. So we're going to go very, very fast. Miguel, for those of you that don't know who he is actually an employee of our office. He works for Guerra Financial Group, but he actually specializes with mainly people that work for the county. So he's very, very familiar with the Florida retirement system. He's helped out, I would say, at least well over 400 or 500 people make decisions on what is the best option when it comes to the Florida retirement system. So he's very, very, very well versed in the area of the Florida retirement system. And so he's going to be giving us a lot of good information on everything that has to do with Florida retirement system, and just make sure that you guys make the right decision with this, especially those of you that work for the county. So with that said, Miguel, I think we should go ahead and get started. Oh, if you work for the county or you work for the state, everyone on the call or everyone in the meeting is actually going to get the opportunity to be able to meet with Miguel directly. It's a completely free analysis that Miguel is going to give you in regards to your specific Florida retirement system, and what is the best option for you to take. So if you want to set up a meeting with Miguel or with one of our advisors at the office, just go ahead and text the word GFG or the letters GFG to 484848. I think all of you guys should be able to see it over here on the left-hand side. The top left, it says GFG, and you can just text the number 484848 GFG. And then right from there, you could actually schedule a meeting with Miguel or myself or one of our advisors at the office, and then we can help you just make a better decision in regards to your retirement. So I think right now we have about over 100 people between Zoom and on Facebook. So nothing, Miguel. I think the stage is yours, and let's just go ahead and get started on pretty much everything that has to do with FRS. So. Miguel, I know that we spoke about this yesterday when we were kind of trying to prepare a little bit of content for everyone that was going to be on, especially the county and Florida and state of Florida employees. But I guess my first question is, what's the most important thing that everyone needs to start off with in regards to Florida retirement system? Like what is the basic understanding that people need to understand about how the Florida retirement system works, and just how to start learning more about it?
Perfect. So Sebastian, what we realize is that when people come to our office and they meet with us and they have a Florida retirement system, they barely understand what that is about. And they barely know the rules and regulations and the options when they get into a pension, or when they get into a drop, or when they get into an investment plan. They don't actually know what to expect from every single one of those options. So one of the things that we always tell people to do is to actually go online, and the first thing is to request a PIN. So in order for them to create an account online, and the website is www.myfrs.com, they need to go in and request a PIN. Without the PIN, they cannot create an account. So the first step is always to go request that PIN. And I would suggest that anybody that is listening to us right now or knows anybody that has an FRS, writes this down and tells them to go onto the website and request the PIN. It's very easy. You go to the website, go to the registration link, and as soon as you're going to register your account, it's going to request a PIN from you. The PIN is a physical PIN that they send by mail. It's not by email or text. It has to be sent by mail. So that's the first step. Even before they meet with us, we always tell our clients or the prospects that meet with us to go to the website and request the PIN so that when they come in and we can go into the website and create the actual login for the client.
So Miguel, can you actually, I know we spoke about this. Can you show them how to get that?
Sure. Yes. So if the idea is to go to the website directly and create
the website. If you guys want, those of you that are on, the website is myfrs.com.
You guys see that I have it ready here because I use this website a lot for most of our clients when they meet with us. So for those of you that are looking at the webinar right now, what you need to do is go into the sign in or register right here on the right on the top right. Go to the register, and you guys will see that it says register for my FRS. And as soon as you go into the register for my FRS, it asks for your last 4 digits of your social. It asks for your PIN. If you don't have this PIN, you need to request the PIN. So right here on the bottom, there's a link that says request your PIN. Click on that link, fill out the last 4 digits of your social, your last name, and your date of birth, and you can submit it. And it's gonna tell you that within the next 10 days, 7 to 10 business days, they will mail you a PIN. So be on the lookout on the mail because they send it by mail. They don't send it on the email. They don't send it on text. They send it by mail only. Got it.
So pretty much once you have that PIN, what does that allow you to do? So like, okay, so perfect. You got your PIN, you got a letter in the mail. It's what? It's how many numbers is the PIN? It's like 6 digits, right? Or something like that?
Right. It's 6 digits and it's unique. So once they receive the PIN, they're able to come back to the register and actually, create their account, which is what we want to do.
So pretty much you cannot, what you're saying is you can't even have access to the Florida Retirement System website if you don't even get your PIN first.
Exactly. So the first thing that they need to do is get the PIN. Then after that, they can create the account on their own, or they could come to the office and see us and we'll help them create the account. And what that allows us is to be able to see the different options when we go to talk about the pension or the drop or the investment plan. And without that PIN, without creating the account, there's very limited information that we have to make an educated decision about retirement. So it's very important to do this.
Okay, perfect, Miguel. Thank you, man. All right, so anything else in regards, Miguel, anything in regards to like what we were speaking about right now, which is anything else that you need to get started? Like what else do you need? You need the PIN. Is there anything else that you need to get started?
Yeah, so we always recommend people also just as they log into the MyFRS website, we always tell them to go to the My Social Security website. Okay. So Social Security is www.ssa.gov, and they can also create an account on the Social Security to see the estimated amount of money that they're going to receive when they get to retirement. I know that a lot of people don't want to depend on Social, and we all know that you cannot rely on Social for your retirement only, but it's definitely a tool that we want to have and we want to put into consideration when we create your retirement plan and when we design your future.
Yeah, so I think the beautiful thing, Miguel, about what you're saying is that, I don't know if everyone that's watching right now understands how good those of you that work for the county, those of you that work for the state, like, I don't know if you guys really see how great you guys have it in regards to your pensions. I know that your work can be really, really stressful sometimes, but I'll be really dead honest with you guys. Like, very few employees will get a Social Security check and also a monthly pension for the rest of their life. So the majority of the public only is going to get a Social Security check. And so for those of you that are firefighters, police officers, those of you that work for the county or the state, you guys are going to have a great pension on top of that. So, you know, part of what we do with every family that we meet with is we talk about why everyone needs to do what's called retirement planning, which is finding out how much you're going to get in your pension from the FRS in this case, and then how much you're going to be getting in Social Security. So before you retire, you need to know these two numbers, right? You need to know how much is Social going to give you, and then how much is your pension going to give you? Because then you have to figure out, is that going to be enough to be able to pay all your bills? Because many of you are making $150,000 a year, but it will not be enough to be able to pay all your bills between your Social and your pension. Maybe your Social and your pension is only $60,000 a year. So how are you going to pay all your bills? So I think what's really important out of this entire conversation is just, you know, knowing what you're going to get on Social Security, and then knowing what you're going to get from your Florida retirement system pension when you retire. So I don't know if those of you guys heard, but so everybody knows, your Social Security website is ssa.gov, ssa.gov. Go to that website and you will be able to create a login and be able to find out exactly how much you're going to get in Social Security, and you'll have a bunch of information in regards to that. Okay. Anything else, Miguel, regarding this?
No, we can move forward. Let's get to the good information.
All right,
This is
good.
the basics, and this is what most people need, because the first thing that we want to do is calculate that income gap and make sure that you can cover that income gap when you get to retirement. But
Exactly.
in order to do that, we need to understand how your FRS works, and how your pension is calculated, and how your investment plan is calculated. So that brings us to this topic, and it's about the difference between the regular and the special risk class. So there's a formula, there's a specific formula that the FRS has in order to calculate your pension. And that formula depends on several things. One of the things is the years of service that you have done for the state. Another thing is your salary. Another thing is your risk class. So if you got a regular risk class, it's going to be different. The conditions of your pension are going to be different than the special risk conditions. And the calculations of your pension are also going to be different.
Miguel, can you give us an example of what regular risk or regular class employees are? Because I think a lot of people don't know what a regular employee is for the county and what a special risk is of an employee.
Yeah, so a special risk is anybody that has service as police officers or firefighters, or has some level of risk at their job that is higher than others. We can obviously understand that a police officer has more risk than a librarian, right? Or a teacher. They expose themselves to situations that encounter danger. So they have a special risk for those people that do this type of jobs. Even people that work at the water and sewer plant that we got right in front of our office, some of those people that work with chemicals and they're highly dangerous, they have that special risk as well. So you got to make sure that you have that special risk or the regular risk in order to know which calculation you're going to do and what factors to use.
Miguel, do you have that? I thought we spoke about that the other day. Do you want to share that? Do you have that?
Yes. So I have some percentages here that I need to share with you guys. If you guys come to meet with us, we'll give you exactly which one is yours, and we'll calculate it with you. But right now, I'm gonna kind of read them off to you. It's a lot of information. Like I said, I want to move forward quickly. So for the regular class, people that enroll into the FRS before July 1st of 2011, and their retirement age is 62 or 30 years, the factor they're going to use for calculation is 1.6%. Okay. For people that the retirement age is 63 or 31 years, it's going to be 1.63%. And I hope that everyone is writing theirs down right now as I'm speaking. If retirement age is 64 or 32 years, it's going to be 1.65%. Retirement age 65 or 33 years of service is going to be 1.68. Okay. For people that have a special risk class, if they have service from December 1st of 1970 through September 3 of 1974, it's 2%. Service on or after October of 1974 is 3%. Okay, and that's basically past service. They're going to use that 2% for a special risk class
Okay.
if they're doing the calculation.
All right, so it seems pretty complicated. So pretty much every single person has a different a percentage that the government uses to calculate what your pension is going to be, right? So in simple words, what you're saying, Miguel, is that if you are a special risk employee or a high risk employee, you are going to end up getting a bigger pension than, for example, a librarian or a teacher or anything like that. Although, I mean, it's really hard to compare the two because they both do an incredible job at what they do. But the reality is they give police officers, firefighters, they're going to give them a bigger pension when they retire. And I also think that it's important to know that teachers, for example, have a 30-year window, right? Whereas police officers and firefighters normally only have a 25-year window for their pension, depending on when they started working, the year that they started working and all this stuff. But if you want to know exactly what your time frame is, just let us know and we'll help you out, just making sure that you make the right decision. So
yeah, that's important. That's important that you mentioned that, Sebastian, because as it is, the FRS has made already changes to the plan, to the pension plan. And there's something in the FRS that we'll touch up later. It's called the COLA, the cost of living adjustment. And it's the increase on the pension after a person retires. And what happens with that is that back in 2011, they took away the COLA. They took away the cost of living adjustment. So that means that any service that people have after July 1st of 2011, they are not going to be receiving any COLA. They're not going to have any increase on their pension once they retire. So that is a very important point, because when people are making that decision for pension, remember that there's something called inflation. Prices are going to continue to go up. Everything goes up, food goes up, gas goes up, energy goes up, everything goes up in price. And if your pension is not going up in price, in income, is not increasing by that COLA, then you're going to fall behind at some point. So that could be a deal breaker in some cases.
Okay, so in simple words, Miguel, I guess, because I know you get a little bit more technical, and maybe I know you sound really smart, but just to kind of get an idea, the cost of living is something really important that everybody needs to understand. Costs go up, prices go up. It's called inflation. So whenever you're thinking about your retirement, you need to be thinking about, okay, when you're 62 and you retire at 62 years old and your pension is $3,000 a month, you have to think about, wait a second, at 82, will $3,000 pay me the same thing in 20 years? And the reality is $3,000 today is not the same value than $3,000 in 20 years. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we got to think about the impact of inflation in regards to your retirement. All right. So with that said, Miguel, I wanted to ask you this because I think this is a question that everybody asks, right? It's how in the world does the state of Florida decide what they're going to pay a person when they're calculating their pension? So I know that it's very complicated in the way they go about doing it, but I think this is a question that everybody asks. Okay, I go onto the FRS website, and the FRS website says I'm going to get $4,000 a month as my pension. But how in the world did they calculate where the $4,000 came from? Like, how did they actually do the math to figure out what I actually am going to be getting?
Yeah, so there's this formula that we have here on this screen right now, and what they take into account is your years of creditable service. So meaning the years that you work for the state, right, and that you receive credit for. The percentage value is what I was talking about earlier. Depending on your risk class, is a different percentage, and obviously it's so broad, it's so different for every person. That's why we suggest that people get with an advisor, and we can actually go over this if you want to go into detail with this formula. There's a lot of information also on the MyFRS website.
Miguel, I have a question. Is the percentage value for the majority of people, it's about 1.63%. Is that correct?
Yeah. Right now, depending on the age of retirement and the years of service, we could say that is an average. That is an average.
So the first thing that you got to do is you got to ask yourself, how many years did I work for the state? So if I work for the state 30 years, then years of credible service, that's 30, right?
Right.
Then 2, I got to figure out what my percentage value is. which obviously, depending on your risk class, how you mentioned, it can be maybe 1.6. Obviously, firefighters, police officers, I think it's closer to like 3%. But you got to figure out depending on when you started working, right? And then what is average final compensation? What is that?
So the average final compensation, and it gets a little tricky because the FRS has changed it has changed the rules. So the average final compensation, it used to be the 5 highest paid years in terms of your salary. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your salary over the 30 years that you had, or the 32 years that you had in service, and you're going to get the 5 highest paid years. Usually people get the last 5 because those are the highest paid. But some people that switch jobs within the state, they might have some years in the past. We have clients that have years where they made more money in the past than currently in their current job. So you're gonna pick the 5 highest paid years
of the entire time, right?
Of the entire 30 years, yes.
So if I made 100,000 1 year, 75, 104, 109, they grab it all and then they divide it into 5 years.
Exactly. They add it together and they divide it in 5 years.
Got it.
Okay. And then they're gonna multiply all this.
Which we didn't put the multiplication sign. We should have put the multiplication sign.
I know. We're gonna multiply the years of service times the percentage value and times the average final compensation, and that should give you the option 1 for your pension.
Got it. All right, perfect, Miguel. I think that definitely helps. All right, so now this whole thing, and I think this is where it gets really complicated, Miguel, right? So you spoke about option 1, and I think what we just discussed is the fact that option 1, the way you calculate it is based on pretty much your years of service, your highest 5 years, and then your risk class. In very simple words, that's how they go about deciding how much your pension is going to be. But now, I don't know where you want to go from this, but I think it's important for everyone to understand what the pension is, what the drop is, and then what the investment plan is. So can you kind of like just explain to us? I know that you wanted to do more of a drawing so that everybody can understand how this works, but just kind of explain to us, what is the FRS drop? How does it differ from the pension? And then how does the investment plan work?
Yeah, so this is the stuff that you and I like, which is drawing on boards and explaining people's stuff. So we're gonna get to the fun stuff. This is the part that we enjoy the most. What happens is most people, when they come to the office, they only understand option 1. And if anything, they might know about option 2, but they don't know that the pension plan actually has 4 different options, right? So if we're talking about the pension plan, which is the initial plan that we need to look into, because by default, most people get into the pension plan initially, it's gonna allow you to have 4 different options, right? So you have option 1, you have option 2, 3, and option 4. And I'm sorry, I'm not a drawing person, so excuse my drawing here. Option 1.
I want to stop you really quick. I want to ask you a question. So again, I think that this is a very dumb question, Miguel, because we probably should have started out talking about this at the very beginning. But I think a lot of people don't understand what a pension is, right? So can you just kind of tell people what a pension is just in general? Like, what's the function of a lifetime pension? How does that work?
Yeah, so the function of a lifetime pension, Sebastian, is basically people have worked for several years for the state, and they have accrued credits. They don't have an amount of money in that pension plan, but they have credits that the state has given them. And based on those credits is how they're gonna calculate that pension with the formula that I just gave you. And what that does is that guarantees a check that's gonna come in for that person for the rest of their life, right?
Like a social security check.
Like a social security check, kind of, right? Yes, exactly. But it varies depending on which option that person chooses, because there's some options that don't have the alternative to have beneficiaries on it. There are some options that do.
Okay, perfect, good. Thank you, Miguel.
So that's what we're gonna go over right now in terms of which options are the best. So we got 4 different options. And the first one that we just went over, which is the maximum pension, we call it the maximum pension. It's the number 1. So that calculation of that maximum pension is based on the formula that we just went over. What happens with that is they're gonna pay you the maximum pension you could earn based on your years of service and based on this formula. But if you pass away, if something happens to you, if you die, then there's no money left for any beneficiaries.
Got it. So you're telling me that I can get, so let's say I retired 30 years after working for the county. I worked for 30 years. I start getting my $5,000 a month pension. I chose option 1 and I died 2 months later. Like nobody gets a single dime. My children, my wife, nobody gets anything.
Your children, nobody gets anything if you chose option 1.
So who keeps the money?
The state.
There you go.
So the state keeps the money. So it's very important because what happens is a lot of people don't know, and what they want is they want to maximize their pension all the time. So they choose option 1. And if they choose option 1, they do it without knowing that there's no beneficiaries. You know, some people think that their families are going to get it as a beneficiary, but the truth is they are not. And you guys can go to my FRS website and read up, and you're going to find out that it is the way that I'm telling you it is. So there's a second option. Option 2 is usually part of the quotes that you could get from the FRS website. And option 2 is what we know as a 10-year period certain. That is a term, that is the actual term in our industry. So for that 10-year, the government, the state in this case, reduces your pension, and they're gonna reduce your pension, you know, probably about a 5%, more or less, is the rule of thumb. But they're gonna guarantee that from the day that you retire, they will cover your beneficiary for 10 years. And your beneficiary will continue to get the same amount of money for those 10 years and those 10 years only. So if you, Sebastian, retire at 67 from the state and you start receiving your pension and you pick option 2 and you were 67 at that point and you get to 77, after 77, if you pass away, nobody gets anything. So you still are covering your beneficiary for only 10 years, but 10 years after, there is no beneficiaries, right? Nothing is left to anyone. So some people choose that option because they want to cover their wives, but I don't think that there's anybody that feels, hey, I'm going to retire and I'm going to die within the first 10 years. So I will leave that money to my family in that way, right?
But it happens.
Right. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And
I'm gonna take a little plug here, Miguel. Those of you that are on Facebook, please do me a favor. We were asking earlier if you guys can please share. So we got to the minimum 10 people. So thank you so much for everybody that shared. Those of you that have just logged on right now, just please go ahead and share this on your Facebook, because we know that a lot of you that work for the county, we know that they need to have access to this information. And unfortunately, the county doesn't really educate people, I think, the way they should. I don't know why they don't give people like very detailed and easy to understand classes like this. But those of you that are on, Carbonell, I see you there. Sandra, I see you there. Lynn, I see you there. So if you guys can please just share, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, somebody was asking on the chat how they can watch it on Facebook. They could go to the Guerra Financial Group site, and it's gonna be live on the Guerra Financial Group, and they could join.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going because we got a lot to cover. We got option 3 and 4. Option 3 and 4, a lot of people don't know about, and option 3 and 4 are actually the joint options. Okay, so these options are the ones that have a beneficiary that you can designate a beneficiary on. Okay,
only spouses, right?
No, you could actually do anybody as a beneficiary that is part of your family, because you could designate your kids as well.
Okay.
Right. But what happens if you do that, Sebastian, is that they are going to reduce your benefit based on the age of your beneficiary.
Correct.
So if let's say if Mauro was working for the state and Mauro was about to retire from the state and he chose to put you down as a beneficiary, let's think about this for a minute. Mauro is currently in his 60s, right? And you're currently on your 20s, right?
30.
I mean, 30s. I'm sorry, you're already in your 30s.
Fine, 20. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
So what happens is that the state is going to carry on the pension for Mauro, but at the same time, when he passes away, they're gonna have to continue to pay a pension to you, and you are a younger person. So the drop on the pension is gonna be drastic, right?
Right.
But let's say that instead Mauro chose his wife, which is a more contemporary age to his age, right? So the drop on the pension is less, but there is still a drop on your pension. So a lot of people don't like
A reduction, right?
What happened?
There's a reduction, because I know drop is something else.
There's a reduction in your pension. Yes. That's the right word. That's a better word. There's a reduction on your pension. And a lot of people don't like to see a reduction on their pension. They want to maximize their pension, right? But they also want to cover that second person. So, you know, it's a very conflictive way of looking at things. But it's important to know that there are those two options. So let's say, just for the sake of this example, let's say that the maximum pension for a person was going to be $3,000 when they get to retirement.
And I know that the 10-year period certain is about a 5% reduction, right?
Right. And I know that some of you guys might have a pension of $2,000. Some people might have a pension of $5,000, depending on the rank that you had on your job and depending on the salary and all these conditions. So, and the years of service, obviously, because some people have worked for 20 years, some other people have worked for 30 or 35. So obviously it's going to be a different number. But let's say that it was 3,000 on the maximum pension. On this second option, yeah, there is a 5% drop.
Average.
On that, yeah, on average on that option. So therefore, we're gonna look at about a 2850 pension here, right?
Right.
And then depending on the age of your beneficiary, the pension on option 3 and option 4 is gonna drop. So let's say that it is a contemporary person to your age, right? So let's say that is a contemporary person to your age. So your pension is probably gonna drop, I'll say, to 2,600. In case anything happens to you, that other person will go to also receive 2,600. Let's say that it was, you know, the wife or husband, right? If it was the kid, if it was your son or daughter, then the drop is drastic. The reduction on your pension is drastic, is very big.
Right. Now, so in simple words, they're using the life expectancy of the spouse. So if you worked for the county and you were a teacher and your pension was going to be $3,000 on your own, now you want to add your let's call it your husband as the beneficiary on it, and your husband is going to be on it. Now they're going to use your husband's age. So I know we've seen cases in the office where we've had spouses that are 30 years younger, and now you have someone that's 65, the wife is 35, and now there's a massive reduction on option 3 because they added the spouse. And now if the husband dies, the state of Florida has to keep paying the wife the same amount of money for a longer period of time because she's 30 years younger. So yeah, I got you.
Yeah. And we have seen also cases in which, you know, the person is a single mother or single father, and they want to include their kids into the pension. And what that does, it makes it more drastic because the reduction is way bigger when it's one of the kids, right? So that is option 3. Option 4, you still take a reduction on your pension, but it's not so big if both people are still alive. So instead of being 2,600, let's say that on option 4, you're going to get about 2,750 maybe. But if one of the two people passes away, then they're going to have a drastic reduction on the pension. The person that stays alive, it doesn't matter whether it was the person that worked for the state or the other person, they will still get that reduction. So that reduction is going to be probably about down to 2,300.
No, it's about which 1/3 reduction, Miguel.
Yes, it's pretty big. It puts a dent on someone's retirement if we're looking at retirement, right? Now, this option 3 and option 4, usually they're not available on the quotes that you request from FRS. Usually you have to tell the FRS to give you those quotes or go onto the website and get the quotes yourself. That's why we encourage people when they come to our office to bring their PIN and to create their account so we could go into the MyFRS website and run all these calculations for every single option. Okay?
So that's why the PIN is so important, guys. Like those of you that have not gotten your PIN, you can't even find out your numbers until you request your PIN. So you got to be on the website. Go on the website, get your PIN. Once you get your PIN, then we can help you go onto the FRS website and actually figure out which option is going to be the best option for you.
Yeah, and it's important for the ones that just logged in now or connected now to the Facebook Live or the Zoom. It's important that you guys go to MyFRS, get that PIN initially, and create your account. Otherwise, we won't be able to see any of these calculations. Okay. Now let's talk about something else that you mentioned earlier. Let's talk about the drop. A lot of people, and I know that you corrected me when I said reduction for the pension, because there's something called the drop. Is the deferred retirement option program. So the state has a program that when you reach what they know as normal retirement age or normal retirement date, you are entitled to enroll into something called the drop, the deferred retirement option program. And what you actually do is you retire. You literally retire from the state. You're no longer an employee of the state, but they allow you to continue to work here for a maximum of 5 years.
Well, I guess it depends on the type of, there's some that's even up to 8 years.
Right, yes. They made exceptions for some jobs such as teachers, because there is a need of teachers in Miami-Dade County, so they might allow you to work an extra 3 years. But that is just on the individual cases. That's why, there's so many iffies on this FRS that you gotta actually look for your tailored plan. Okay, look at what situation you're in and look at what works better for you, because whatever works for your coworker might not be the same thing that works for you. Okay, so on this drop, what the person does is they literally retire from the state, and the state is going to start paying that pension. So let's say that a person starts taking this maximum pension of $3,000. If they start taking this maximum pension of $3,000, what the state is going to do is they're going to pay that pension, but they're going to pay it into this bucket called the drop. So every month they're going to get this $3,000 that you were supposed to be getting paid as a pension, and they're going to deposit it into this bucket called the drop, and they're going to accumulate it for 5 years. And when you reach the maximum of 5 years, or even before 5 years, because you don't have to complete the 5 years, you could actually retire whenever you feel like after, you're going to get a lump sum. Whatever amount of money has been accumulated in here, you will get it as a lump sum, right? Now, remember that this lump sum has not paid taxes, because the pension, you actually didn't get it as a payment. You got it into this bucket and you accumulated into that bucket. So
what you're saying is, like 5 years later, if let's say the pension was $3,000 a month, you multiply that by 5 years, that's about a total of what, 200,000?
It's about 180.
Okay. So I think this is the question, Miguel, that I'm going to ask you regarding this. What happens if a person pulls out the 180,000 right after they retire, after the 5 years that they were in the drop? So they completed the 5 years, or they completed only 3 years, and they want to walk out, and they call up FRS, they fill out the form, send me my money. I just want my money. Give me my money. What happens there?
That's a really important question, Sebastian, because when people do that, they now need to declare that $180,000 in their tax, in their income tax.
For that year.
So now they're going to have to, yes, for that year. So now they're going to have to pay taxes on anything that they made from their salary plus the 180.
Yeah.
So you could imagine the level of taxes they're going to have to pay. They might even fall in a 24% or even a 32% tax bracket, depending on their salary, right? So if you're thinking about doing that and pulling that money out to yourself, think twice.
No, not even think twice. Don't even think about it. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it, because you're going to get hammered with taxes.
Destroyed.
And so if you're thinking of getting that lump sum here, and let's have you happy here, Sebastian, when you're going to get that check of 180, but then there's going to be Uncle Sam that's going to come and say, hey, that money hasn't paid taxes, and now it's going to take a big portion of that money away because you haven't paid taxes. So what we tell most people—
About how much is it? About how much?
Well, they generally have one rule that they withhold 20%. It's right. A 20% rule, but you could fall on a higher tax bracket, and you're going to have to end up sending more money to the IRS.
We had a guy that did that. I remember we had a gentleman that did that. His drop was almost $250,000. Mm-hmm. At his current job, he had $100,000 of income, so he made 100. His wife made like another 50, so that was 150, and then he pulled out the drop of 250. So you add it all up, that's 400,000. That shot him up into like the 35% tax bracket. So even though he only had a 20% withholding, he still owed like another $50,000 in extra taxes just because he didn't do what? Like, what is it? So, okay, so you're going to finish the drop. What do you got to do? What do you do with the money?
If you're finishing the drop and you're getting this lump sum, they give you the option of getting this lump sum and putting it into an IRA. So you got to do a rollover. This is what we know as a rollover.
That's how you avoid the taxes, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's how you avoid the taxes. And that's how you can manipulate those 180 and start distributing the 180 over time to avoid the impact of taxes, right? And a lot of people think that the game at retirement is just collecting all your money and running with it. But you got to be more careful, because taxes, and we've said this so many times, taxes is the silent killer. They're the silent killer to your retirement, and you got to be very careful with taxes. So the best advice is to always move that lump sum into an IRA. Anybody that doesn't have an IRA established, we always urge them to open up an IRA. So if you are part of the drop right now, if you that are listening to this presentation right now, you're part of the FRS and you don't have an IRA established, I will tell you, you have the number. Text. Can you show it again, Sebastian?
Yeah.
On the screen, so people can write it down.
Yeah, guys. All right. Let me share this.
Text to us so you could set up an appointment and set up that IRA and be ready for that lump sum when it arrives.
So we have here, guys.
Yeah,
it's right here on the screen. Those of you that have an FRS, you can text the number GFG or text the letters GFG to 484848. And what you can do is, as soon as you get those text message, you can actually set up a meeting immediately with us, and then we'll help you obviously make sure that you have your IRA set up. By the way, you got to make sure you set up the right type of IRA. There's all types of IRAs. If you set up the wrong one, it won't work. So you got to make sure that you're working with someone that really understands how the Florida retirement system works, so that they can set up the right type of account for you.
Yes. So with that said, the last thing that we need to talk about is the investment plan. So let's go back.
Yep.
Let's go back to the drawing board so we could cover that investment plan, and we could let people know what's going on with that investment plan. So the other option, instead of taking the pension or enrolling in the drop, is going to the investment plan.
I think, Miguel, we forgot to mention one thing. When the person enrolls in the drop, you walk out with 180,000 and you can move it into the IRA, and you also keep getting your monthly pension for the rest of your life.
Yes.
right? So you get,
remember,
when you're in the drop, you get two things.
Right. Remember that when you enroll in the drop, you already chose one of these four options. You took option 1 or option 2 or option 3 or option 4. Based on that option is the amount of money that's going to come into this bucket, right? And then when you get that lump sum, you will continue to get that monthly paycheck, right? If you chose option 1, you will get those $3,000 for as long as you live. So, you know, if you live 2 more years or 5 more years or 10 more years, you will collect the 3,000 for those 10 years. But after you pass, that check goes away, but your family can keep the 180 if you collected the 180, right? Now, right, if you kept it and you left it for them, right? If you were nice enough, like your dad is with you and he's gonna leave you all his money.
I don't know about that. I wish.
If not, he's gonna leave it to me or the business. So that's good. So if we don't want to enroll in the pension, if we don't want to enroll in the drop, if we don't want that monthly check, if we want to know, hey, I worked for 30 years, 40 years to the county, and I want to get my amount, I want to get all my money at once, right? Then there's something called the investment plan. And there is a way on the website in which we can calculate what the conversion of the pension to the investment plan is. Now, there's a couple things here. If we make that conversion from the pension to the investment plan, there's only one way. If you see this arrow goes one way only. And it's because once you convert it into the investment plan, you cannot go back to the pension plan. Okay? So I'm gonna draw this arrow here, but I'm gonna exit out because you cannot go back to the pension plan. Okay? But what the investment plan tells you is how much money you actually accrued over those 30 years of service or 35 years of service, whatever years of service you had, or 25 years, right? There is a rule of thumb that we found, right, Sebastian? And the calculation on that amount for that investment plan conversion is about 15 times the maximum pension that you're gonna take, right?
So ladies and gentlemen, in simple words, this is really, really important what Miguel just said. I literally had a conversation with a lady about 2 months ago, exactly about this conversation. Her pension when she retired was going to be about $5,000 a month. Like $5,000 a month was going to be her pension. She told me, Sebastian, I don't care. I am taking my pension no matter what. Don't tell me not to take the pension. Well, she didn't even know that she can give up the pension and convert her pension to the investment plan. Now, I think what Miguel's trying to say is the investment plan, by the way, it's not for everyone. So don't think that, okay, Sebastian and Miguel is saying that you guys got to move to the investment plan. That is not what we're saying. What we're saying is you got to know your numbers and you got to see what is a better decision for you. So what she was going to be doing is she was going to be getting $5,000 a month. So if you multiply 5,000 a month multiplied by 12 months, that's $60,000. So if you grab $60,000, the normal investment plan will be worth about 15 to 20 times your $60,000. So Miguel, I think you got the number wrong there. So on the screen, it's 60,000 multiplied by about 15 to 20.
Yeah, we did the calculation here, the 3,000. I was doing the calculation on the 3,000, Sam.
Oh, based on the 3,000. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I want to follow the example so people don't get lost.
Got it.
So remember that it depends on your pension, because some of you guys have a $3,000 pension. Some of you guys are going to have 5,000. Some of you guys are going to have 1,500. It depends on the years of service that you have, right? But if you multiply that by 15 to 20 times, right? And I'm doing it here with the 3,000, and we're being very conservative here, right? We want to make sure that we stay within the numbers that we've seen by experience. So if we're looking at this 3,000, that person was going to get $36,000 a year. They will be getting in the investment plan about $500,000, more than $500,000 on that investment plan. Now, the main concern for people is when they see this word, this investment word, they automatically think the stock market and they think they're going to lose all their money, right?
Yep.
And you correct me if I'm wrong, Sebastian, but usually when you mention investment plan to the clients, they feel they're going to lose their money in the stock market, right?
But you don't need to do that. Like, you can set up an investment plan that's very conservative, or if you want, you can just stay in the pension and switch to the investment plan right before you're ready to retire. I had a teacher a couple months ago that she was in the pension, but she knew that she was going to switch to the investment plan. But she's like, Sebastian, I don't want to stay in the stock market. You know, I'm worried about it. So I told her, stay in the pension. Right before you're ready to retire, 1 week before she was ready to retire, she switched over to the investment plan. And she ended up getting like $750,000. Now, she lost her pension, but she now has a $750,000 account. In this example, it's $540,000.
Right. And one of the things that we say, it goes case by case, because just like you mentioned that story right now, I could tell you about a client that I met with last week. This is the son of one of our clients. So he's about our age. I think he's 27 or 28. He had worked for the state for about 3 years, and he was on the pension. And it happens to be that for you to qualify for any pension benefits, if you are within the pension plan, you need to qualify for at least 8 years of service. So him having only 3 years, if he doesn't go back to his job with the county, because he switched jobs last week and he works another 5 years, he's not going to get any pension. So he pretty much lost those 3 years of service for the county, right? So it depends on case by case, what is your objective with the plan? So in the case of him, he should have been on the investment plan, because right now when he switched jobs, he would be able to roll it over, right, into an IRA. And that was one thing that I was going to mention. When you move into the investment plan and you retire, you could always move this to an IRA as well, and then manage that investment through the IRA, okay? And that's why you get someone that knows how to manage those investments, because there are funds that are aggressive, but there are funds that are more conservative. And there are guaranteed products that could protect your money from the market downfall. So we all know about all these things. And we know that there are advisors and people that are qualified to advise you best, but yet some people don't use them. They don't use them until they already made the choices. And
or they find out about it after they've been retired, and they're like, holy crap, I didn't make the right decision and all this stuff.
I should have done this. And it's so complex. I remember a case that we worked on together, Sebastian, for a lieutenant from the police department.
Yeah, I remember.
His pension was going to be, like you were mentioning, it was about $5,000, almost $6,000 a month, right? Because he worked for so many years. And when we did the conversion to the investment plan, it was about $1.5 million, right? Yeah. He was going to retire at age 58. And at age 58, he was going to continue to work. He was just going to go into another job. So imagine that he was making, or he was going to be making in his new job about $50,000 a year, because it was a more relaxed job. He wanted to drop all the stress. He just wanted to continue to work. He didn't want to sit at home. And then he was going to receive another $60,000 in pension. Plus, his wife owns her own business, and she was making about $100,000. So they were going to be paying a massive amount in taxes.
Right.
He didn't really need to pay taxes on the $60,000 in the pension, because he wasn't going to use that money. They didn't need it to live. Right. They were okay with the $100,000 from the wife. So in his case, it didn't have to do anything with the investment or the guarantee check. It had to do with the taxes. And that's when he said, you know what, I want to make that switch to the investment plan. But like Sebastian said, we're not telling you that the investment plan is better than the pension plan or than the drop. We are just telling you there are so many different options, and there's so much information about every single one, that you need an analysis on which one is the best for you and which one works for you.
And Miguel, and regarding the guy that you were talking about right now, the lieutenant, the main reason he wanted to switch out of the investment plan is he was telling me, he's like, it's very normal that police officers end up dying in the first couple of years of retirement. So he was telling us, he's like, if I die with the pension, then my children don't get any money. So one of his main priorities was he wanted to have the money so that if he passes away, at least he leaves, in his case, with about $1.5 million to his children, and he can control the money while he's still alive. Does that make sense? So, so yeah, guys, again, we're not saying here that the investment is good or the investment is bad, or that the pension is good or the pension is bad. Is you just got to figure out, oh, and by the way, don't ever, please guys, do not do the mistake of asking your friends and family at work, what's the better option? They're not financial planning experts. They don't deal with this stuff on a regular basis. So please make sure that you're going to a professional to help you make the right decision. A lot of people say, oh, the investment, I lost a bunch of money. Yeah, they probably invested it in crazy investments, right? Or the pension is the best option, but then you die 3 years later. So you got to think about all these things.
So Sebastian, they informed me that we're about to go. And so what I wanted to do before we go is you do have the calculator that I could say humbly that I created to actually compare the 3 different options. You have it on your computer, right?
I don't. Do you mind going through it 5 minutes?
Let me give me. Well, we have.
I'm not. I know you're the expert at that. So I know I've seen it. I've messed around with it, but I know you've been doing it for a while. So I don't want to mess everything up here, and then give people wrong information.
Yeah, I gotta go on the other one. Let me really quick. I'm gonna show it to you guys. But if you guys do want to have this information, if you guys do want to have this information, you need to set up an appointment with us, because you can actually go through a comparison of the 3 plans. I'm gonna share my screen here with you, so I could leave you with this, and Sebastian, you could wrap it up. You could wrap it up with them and let them know the rest. But here is the actual. It's not allowing me to open this.
You can't have it minimized in the back.
Not allowing you. So pretty much, guys, for those of you that don't know what Miguel did, so Miguel ended up building a calculator that helps you guys make a better decision as far as what's the best investment choice for you. So is it better to do the drop? Is it better to do the investment plan? Is it better to do the pension? So he actually built a calculator to actually help you make this decision, because I know that the website doesn't actually do the comparison between all 3 together.
Yeah, so what we do is we go over all the details on the different options, as you guys can see, option 1, 2, 3, and 4.
We can't see Miguel. Miguel, we can't see it. Miguel, we can't see the Excel sheet.
You're not, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me share with you. Okay, can you see it now?
Yep, now we could. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I created this calculator because we met with an engineer that actually wanted to compare in numbers how things work. So we take into consideration the age of retirement. We take into consideration the pension options.
Zoom in. Miguel, can you zoom in, please?
The lump sum. Yes. The lump sum investment amount, the drop, and the calculation on the drop. And we put them against each other. The pension plan versus the investment plan, the drop versus the investment plan. And we even run, what if you take your money out on the investment plan and you go and deposit that money into an investment vehicle, and you start taking withdrawals from that vehicle? Because that's one of the questions that people have the most. I want to take withdrawals from that money, and I want to keep in consideration COLA. In this example, the COLA for this person was 0.91 because they only had so many years of service. So, but this is going to be a deal breaker. So we can look at these numbers for you specifically. If you guys text 48, 48, 48, if you text GFG to 48, 48, 48, and we will reach out to you to set up an appointment with us and to be able to meet with you and actually create a tailored plan for your retirement.
Yeah. So again, we're not going to be meeting with anybody now, right?
Yeah.
With everything that's going on. But if you guys want to make sure that you make the right decision in regards to which is your best option, and we can run your FRS analysis, just please do us a favor. Text the number 484848. Text the letters GFG to that number. You can see it right on the screen. I'm sharing my screen right now with you guys. I think you guys should all be able to see it. So just text the number 484848. And all you got to do is just text GFG to it. And then what you can do is you can actually set up your meeting. You'll end up talking with Miguel. You can talk with myself. We can actually run your numbers for you and find out which one's the best option. We can go onto the FRS website. We can make sure that we're taking advantage of knowing which one's the best option. And I think with that said, guys, thank you so much, Miguel, for your time. We're going to be doing the same event in a couple weeks again.
Right. I'm actually jumping into another one in Spanish with Mauro. So we're going to cover this on Spanish for those of you that couldn't make it on the right time and you want to see the whole presentation. We're going to do it in Spanish now. But yeah, I hope to see you here. I hope that you plan for your retirement. Be retirement ready. That's our motto. Be retirement ready. Don't wait until the last minute. Sebastian, always good to talk to you, bro.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, all you guys. Thank you for your feedback. We'll be answering all your questions on. Actually, you know what, Miguel, you can go ahead and jump off. I will try to answer as many questions as people have here. So thank you, Miguel, for being on with us. So I know that a lot of you were asking us questions. The Florida retirement system. This is not for. We're talking obviously about the state pension of the state of Florida. So I know some of you were asking a question about if this information that we provided had anything to do with other states. It does not have to do with other states. Every state is very, very different. Let me see here. Healthcare workers, doctors. So pretty much Sandra was asking a question if this has anything to do with healthcare workers. Well, it depends if you work for the state of Florida. So if you work for the state of Florida, yes, Lynn, I agree that teachers should be special risk. I do agree with that, but unfortunately the state of Florida doesn't look at it that way. Especially with everything that's been happening over the last couple of years. We do understand that you guys are special risk. Let me see, is there any other questions here? A very important point that we didn't cover, that the drop, this is a question that a lot of you have, is the drop, once I enroll in drop and if I chose option 2, does that mean that I have to stay, that the 10-year period is certain? And I'm in drop, and let's say I pass away 5 years into drop, God forbid, right after the drop. That means in the 10-year period certain, there's only 5 years left. So a lot of people think that if you choose option 2, which is the 10-year period certain, a lot of people believe that it's 10 years after you leave the state of Florida. It's not that. The 10-year period certain begins once you actually enroll in the drop. So I know we didn't talk about 457 accounts and 403Bs. Those are other types of retirement accounts, but those of you that do have retirement accounts, I strongly suggest, those of you that have 457s, those of you that have 403Bs, I strongly encourage you guys should not be contributing money into those types of accounts. And the reason is because you guys don't get matched on it. So a lot of you are putting money into these accounts, which is great that you're saving money for your retirement. But the problem is you're putting in money, but they're not matching you. So sometimes IRAs are a better option because you have better investment choices. So again, if you do not have an IRA, please contact our office and we'll gladly set you guys up with one. And again, I'm going to leave here on the screen to kind of finalize. We'll be answering your questions directly. You can text the letters GFG to 484848. And if you're watching this again on Facebook, you can also set up your meeting on Facebook as well, and you can set up your appointment there. So with that said, thank you all for participating. I think we had well over 100 people today. So I think we already enjoyed it between Zoom and Facebook. So we're going to be doing it right now again on Facebook. We're going on Facebook Live, and we're going to be doing the same class, but we're going to be doing it in Spanish, guys. So thank you guys all for participating, and we'll be getting in contact with you guys shortly for your meetings. Take care, guys. Stay safe. Bye.